many cultures around the world, spiritual beliefs are not just part of religion. They form the very fabric of daily life, influencing behaviors, customs, and even the laws that govern societies. In particular, the concept of sacred spirits and taboos holds profound significance, especially within African traditions. One such belief system that has shaped African spirituality for centuries is the idea of Mmuo Nso, a concept deeply tied to both fear and purity. But what exactly is Mmuo Nso? How do these spirits or taboos influence both fear and purity in African societies? Mmuo Nso, often translated as sacred spirits or taboos, represents more than just entities of fear. It encapsulates the fine line between sacred purity and the consequences of violating spiritual laws. Across various African communities, Mmuo Nso is intertwined with the understanding that the spiritual and physical realms are inseparable. The spirits are not just passive forces. They act as protectors, enforcers, and sometimes even punishers, reinforcing social norms and ensuring that individuals remain aligned with societal values. In this sense, Mmuo Nso is crucial not only in shaping individual behavior, but also in maintaining the collective balance of the community. But the power of Mmuo Nso extends beyond merely keeping order. These spirits and taboos are also tied to fear. The fear of angering the sacred forces and bringing misfortune or harm to oneself and one's community. In this sense, Mmuo Nso shapes both personal and communal behavior by creating boundaries and structures that maintain the purity of the individual and society as a whole. By examining the nature of Mmuo Nso, we begin to understand how deeply these spiritual beliefs are woven into the African worldview, governing actions and beliefs in ways that shape culture, history, and even politics. The origins of Mmuo Nso can be traced back to deep spiritual and ancestral beliefs in Africa, where religion was closely intertwined with daily life. Long before the influence of colonialism, African societies operated within a world where spirituality was ever present, shaping not just religious practices but social structures and laws. The concept of Mmuo Nso, meaning sacred spirits or taboos, evolved as part of this worldview, rooted in an ancient belief that spirits controlled both the natural world and human actions. In early African civilizations, religious practices were oral traditions passed down through generations. Stories, rituals, and sacred myths painted a picture of a world where nature itself, rivers, trees, mountains, was inhabited by powerful spirits. These spirits, central to Mmuo Nso, not only governed natural elements but also dictated the moral and social behaviors of people. The spiritual forces, including both gods and taboos, worked to enforce order by guiding people's actions and punishing transgressions. As African societies developed, the role of Mmuo Nso became more structured. Priesthoods and spiritual leaders began interpreting the will of the spirits, and rituals became more formalized. Chiefs and elders held positions of power, acting as intermediaries between the spiritual world and the living, responsible for ensuring that sacred laws were followed. Over time, Mmuo Nso became essential to both the individual's personal life and the cohesion of the community. The cultural significance of Mmuo Nso is deeply embedded in African societies. Spirituality is not viewed as separate from day-to-day life, but is instead inseparable from it. From birth to death, the influence of Mmuo Nso can be felt. Purification rituals and spiritual ceremonies are seen as essential parts of one's life journey, often marking important milestones. These rituals help to cleanse the individual, maintaining spiritual purity and ensuring that the individual is free from the harmful influence of negative spirits. Mmuo Nso also plays a key role in maintaining social order. Taboos, which are deeply linked to Mmuo Nso, regulate everything from diet to behavior. These sacred prohibitions are not just seen as spiritual guidelines, but as ways to uphold societal norms and ensure communal harmony. Fear of the consequences of breaking these taboos whether it be misfortune or spiritual punishment, helps maintain a structure of respect and discipline. Purity, in the context of Mmuo Nso, is not merely physical, but extends to spiritual and moral purity. Taboos surrounding food, conduct, and sacred spaces are designed to ensure that individuals maintain alignment with the spiritual realm. Adherence to these taboos, often enforced by a deep fear of divine retribution, ensures that individuals and communities preserve their spiritual health, avoiding the risks of contamination or misfortune. Mmuo Nso is not only about fear and punishment, it is also about maintaining balance, guiding the community toward purity, and ensuring that individuals remain spiritually connected to the divine forces governing the world. Mmuo Nso, while deeply rooted in spiritual beliefs, plays an active role in the organization and functioning of African societies. The spirits or taboos are not distant, abstract forces. They are intricately woven into the very fabric of daily life. In many African cultures, the role of Mmuo Nso is multifaceted, acting as both a protective force and a source of fear, while influencing social norms and individual behavior. One of the primary functions of Mmuo Nso is to act as a protector. In African communities, spirits are believed to watch over individuals and their families, safeguarding them from misfortune, illness, and natural disasters. These sacred forces are invoked during important life events such as births, marriages, and even during the farming season to ensure blessings and protection. Rituals and prayers are performed to appease the spirits, ensuring their favor and support. In this sense, Mmuo Nso is closely tied to the idea of divine protection, a spiritual safety net for those who remain obedient to the taboos and traditions. On the flip side, Mmuo Nso is also a powerful force of fear. The fear of violating taboos or angering sacred spirits is a strong motivator for maintaining social order. The consequences of breaking taboos are seen as severe and can lead to both personal and collective punishment. In some cultures, the breaking of taboos can lead to sickness, bad luck, or even death. This fear acts as a tool of social control, ensuring that individuals adhere to the laws and norms that sustain communal harmony. The threat of divine retribution is ever present, making it an effective mechanism for enforcing societal rules and ensuring that individuals live in accordance with the spiritual laws of the community. However, the role of Mmuo Nso goes beyond punishment. It is also integral to the concept of purification. Purification rituals are essential to cleansing both the individual and the community from spiritual contamination. These rituals often involve specific acts of fasting, bathing in sacred waters, or making offerings to appease the spirits. Purification is not just about cleansing from physical impurities, but about restoring spiritual balance. For many African communities, maintaining spiritual purity is vital to ensuring that the community remains in good favor with the gods and spirits. The rituals themselves often have profound social significance as they bring the community together, strengthening bonds and fostering a sense of shared purpose. The role of Mmuo Nso in maintaining societal order cannot be overstated. In many African cultures, taboos are not only about spiritual purity, but are also essential for social cohesion. They govern everything from family structures to leadership roles, ensuring that power is exercised in a way that is aligned with spiritual principles. Elders, chiefs, and spiritual leaders are considered the earthly representatives of Mmuo Nso, and their role is to interpret the will of the spirits and ensure that the community lives in harmony with these sacred forces. This relationship between the spiritual and the social is what makes Mmuo Nso a cornerstone of African traditions, shaping everything from personal conduct to governance. In conclusion, the influence of Mmuo Nso in African societies extends far beyond the realm of spiritual belief. These sacred spirits and taboos act as protectors, enforcers, and purifiers, deeply influencing how individuals live, interact, and adhere to cultural norms. Whether through fear, respect, or reverence, Mmuo Nso plays a vital role in shaping the spiritual and social landscape of many African communities. The concept of fear within the context of Mmuo Nso is a powerful and pervasive force that shapes individual behavior and societal dynamics. At its core, fear is not just a passive emotion. It actively influences how people conduct their lives, interact with others, and maintain their connection with the spiritual world. This psychological influence is rooted in the belief that breaking taboos or angering the sacred spirits will lead to negative consequences, such as misfortune, illness, or even death. The fear of Mmuo Nso thus serves as a powerful motivator for maintaining spiritual and moral purity within the individual and community. In many African communities, individuals live under the constant awareness that their actions can provoke the wrath of Mmuo Nso, which might result in harm not only to themselves but also to their families or entire communities. This fear influences even the most mundane actions, from what one eats to how one speaks and behaves. For instance, certain foods or behaviors might be considered taboo, and the fear of violating these prohibitions leads to the development of caution, respect, and self-discipline. The psychological impact of this fear creates a framework in which personal conduct is guided by the spiritual and societal laws enforced by Mmuo Nso. The fear of Mmuo Nso also extends beyond the individual to encompass the collective well-being of the community. When a person breaks a taboo or neglects the spirits, the ripple effect can cause widespread fear. Communities may believe that collective misfortune is a direct consequence of one person's actions. This shared fear creates an environment in which the collective becomes vigilant about upholding spiritual and societal norms. The fear of community-wide punishment ensures that individuals adhere to the rules of Mmuo Nso, reinforcing the importance of social cohesion and the unity of purpose within the group. The idea that the community's fate is directly linked to the behavior of individuals emphasizes the responsibility each member holds in maintaining spiritual balance and social order. Fear, in this context, serves as an effective tool for maintaining societal norms. It operates in much the same way as a social contract. Individuals agree to adhere to the rules set by the spiritual beliefs in exchange for protection and spiritual favor. The fear of violating taboos is a deterrent, ensuring that people remain aligned with the values of the community. This shared understanding of fear and its consequences helps maintain the social fabric and prevents chaos or disorder. Moreover, fear is not only a punishment mechanism. It also serves to reinforce what is considered morally right and culturally acceptable, which is critical in preserving the integrity of African traditions. African folklore is rich with examples of how fear plays a central role in reinforcing the principles of Mmuo Nso. One well-known story from the Yoruba culture is that of the spirit of Orunmila, the god of wisdom and knowledge. According to the myth, Orunmila was revered for his wisdom, but his displeasure could bring about disastrous consequences. The story emphasizes how the fear of Orunmila's wrath kept individuals in check, ensuring they followed the spiritual guidelines set by the gods. This type of narrative instills both reverence and fear, demonstrating how fear of divine forces governs behavior and keeps individuals on the right path. Similarly, in the Igbo tradition, the concept of chi, personal god, is closely tied to the idea of fear and retribution. The Igbo believe that their chi, which represents their spiritual essence and destiny, can punish them if they stray from the moral code or fail to respect spiritual taboos. A story often shared in Igbo communities tells of a man who angered his chi by committing an immoral act. As a result, the man faced misfortune and calamity, ultimately leading to his downfall. This story not only illustrates the connection between fear and the concept of personal responsibility, but also shows how the fear of divine punishment is used to maintain moral and social order. The fear instilled by Mmuo Nso is also evident in the belief system surrounding the ancestral spirits in many African cultures. The ancestors are seen as protectors and guides, but they are also capable of delivering punishment to those who fail to honor them. The fear of ancestral displeasure is a significant factor in ensuring that individuals adhere to societal norms, whether through proper rituals, respect for elders, or adherence to moral conduct. These stories and beliefs passed down through generations reinforce the importance of spiritual discipline and respect for the sacred forces that govern life. In conclusion, fear within the context of Mmuo Nso is not just an emotion. It is a tool that shapes behavior, enforces societal norms, and maintains spiritual and social order. From individual actions to community-wide practices, the fear of angering the sacred spirits or breaking taboos ensures that the values of purity, respect, and moral responsibility are upheld. The cultural examples found in African folklore further illustrate how fear, when tied to spiritual beliefs, becomes a powerful force that guides and governs society, creating a harmonious balance between the physical and spiritual realms. Mmuo Nso plays a central role in purification rituals, which are essential for maintaining spiritual and social harmony within African communities. These rituals are not simply symbolic acts. They serve as vital processes for cleansing individuals, families, and even entire communities from spiritual contamination. In many African cultures, the belief is that human beings can become impure due to various factors, such as improper behavior, violation of taboos, or even contact with certain people or places deemed sacred. To restore balance and ensure the continued favor of the Mmuo Nso, purification rituals are performed to remove this spiritual impurity. Purification rituals vary widely across African cultures, but they share common elements rooted in the belief that maintaining purity is crucial for one's spiritual well-being. For instance, in some communities, individuals who have committed an offense, such as breaking a taboo or engaging in immoral behavior, must undergo purification rites. These rites may involve physical actions, such as bathing in sacred waters, fasting, or wearing specific garments that symbolize spiritual renewal. In some cases, individuals might be required to offer sacrifices to the spirits to atone for their transgressions and regain spiritual purity. Rituals involving sacred objects, such as amulets or holy relics, also play a significant role in the purification process. These objects are believed to possess spiritual power, and their use in cleansing rituals serves to protect the individual from harmful influences. In many communities, there are designated spiritual leaders or priests responsible for overseeing these rituals. Their role is to mediate between the spiritual and physical worlds, invoking the power of Mmuo Nso to purify and protect the individual or community. Beyond the individual, Mmuo Nso is also involved in community-wide purification. In times of crisis, such as a widespread illness, crop failure, or social unrest, community leaders may call for a collective purification ritual. These ceremonies are often held at sacred sites, such as forests, rivers, or shrines, and involve the entire community. The purpose of these communal rituals is to cleanse the collective spirit, restore balance, and ensure that the Mmuo Nso is pleased with the community's actions. The belief is that only through communal purity can harmony be restored and misfortune be averted. Purity, in the context of Mmuo Nso, is more than just a physical state. It is deeply tied to spiritual beliefs. Maintaining purity is seen as essential to balancing the forces of the physical and spiritual realms. In African traditions, the world is not divided into separate spiritual and physical domains. Rather, these realms are interconnected and constantly influencing each other. The spiritual world, inhabited by ancestors and spirits, has a direct impact on the physical world, shaping everything from health to prosperity. As such, purity in the physical world is seen as a reflection of purity in the spiritual world. Any impurity, whether it's the result of immoral actions, disrespect for taboos, or spiritual neglect, can disrupt the balance between these realms. The connection between purity and spirituality is crucial in maintaining an individual's relationship with the sacred forces that govern the universe. To live in harmony with Mmuo Nso, one must adhere to the laws of purity, which govern both physical actions and spiritual practices. This includes respecting sacred spaces, observing taboos, and maintaining moral integrity. Purification rituals are the means through which individuals and communities restore this balance when it is disturbed. The goal is to cleanse both the body and the spirit, ensuring that individuals remain aligned with the divine forces that protect and guide them. In many African cultures, spiritual purity is seen as a prerequisite for divine blessings. The belief is that only those who maintain purity through ritual practice, respect for taboos, and moral living can receive the protection, prosperity, and guidance of the Mmuo Nso. For example, in some traditions, individuals who fail to purify themselves may experience bad luck, illness, or failure in life. This reflects the belief that impurity blocks one's connection to the spiritual world, preventing divine favor from reaching them. In contrast, those who adhere to purification practices are thought to be in a state of spiritual harmony, which brings blessings and protection from the Mmuo Nso. In the conclusion, Mmuo Nso's role in purification rituals is essential for maintaining both individual and communal purity. These rituals serve as a means of restoring balance between the physical and spiritual worlds, ensuring that individuals remain spiritually connected and protected. The connection between purity and spirituality highlights the deep interdependence between the two realms, where physical actions are seen as a reflection of spiritual alignment. In African traditions, purity is not merely an ideal. It is a way of life that ensures harmony, prosperity, and protection from the forces of misfortune. In summary, Mmuo Nso represents a vital component of African spirituality, embodying sacred spirits and taboos that shape both individual and communal life. These spirits play protective, punitive, and purifying roles, ensuring that societal norms are maintained, spiritual purity is upheld, and the balance between the physical and spiritual worlds is preserved. From daily rituals to communal practices, Mmuo Nso influences behaviors, governs moral codes, and strengthens the ties between individuals and the divine forces that guide their lives. The profound belief in these sacred forces underpins the fabric of many African cultures, reflecting a worldview where spirituality and daily life are inseparable. If you found this exploration of Mmuo Nso fascinating, be sure to dive deeper into African traditions and spirituality. There's so much more to learn about the rich cultural practices that have shaped communities for generations. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on more insightful content. Feel free to share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on the fascinating world of African spirituality.